Hey, let me make sure it's live for everybody. I think we should be good. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Cool. And let me press record because sometimes I don't press record and I have to rip the audio from the video. So I don't want to do that. Um, and now we're recording. Okay. So welcome to the Unconquered World podcast, where the premise is positivity, the source is love, and the outcome is peace. Hopefully, peace, whatever that means to you. Hopefully, you've seen what the topic is for today. Also, I switched up the headphones because the Beats have a microphone right here, and I think sometimes it's catching a little bit too much of my voice, like if I'm swallowing or something like that. Like, so I don't want it to, be irritating to you guys. But like I said, hopefully you've seen what the topic is for today. First things first, if you have seen, I want you to get out your head that this means that it will take forever to get where you want to go. You can get so much more from this story of slow and steady wins the race, the tortoise and the hare. Um, so basically, let's jump right in. Positivity is the premise, so start there. The tortoise and the hare. So the tortoise. I see this as constant motion and knowing that a little progress each step is going to add up in the long run. I also see it as being the underdog. Now, of course, that has its good and its bad parts like anything else. But for the most part, being the underdog allows you to focus on you. It gives you a chance to start to implement the things that will be foundationally solid when you do reach where you're going and stuff is moving at a faster pace. And also that, being an underdog is what it is, but it's no one's fault. The cards you're dealt, but it is your responsibility to understand the table you're at and play the hand accordingly. So, when I think about the tortoise and the hare, you have to just understand that if you are in that position, then just keep making steady progress. Don't get discouraged and all of that. Okay, so now let's get to the hare. I know this podcast, everyone is probably thinking about focusing on the tortoise because he ultimately won the race. But the hare is valuable when it comes to learning about pitfalls. The hare is more erratic, more prone to being noticed by predators. And predators they attack through many ways, but one of them is also distraction. So inherently, they are more prone to being victims of distraction, and because of this erratic nature, they also can end up further away from where they intended on going. So think about it as the hare can go just as fast in the right direction as it can go in the wrong direction. And this can be because of the distractions of, the nature of how they move about things. When you are moving too fast, sometimes you don't notice what you need to notice. And now you end up going the wrong way, a long way the wrong way because you went that way and make a little progress each day and not one giant leap in one day, which is what we, seem to think happens when we put people on a pedestal, and they're where we wish we were sometimes. So when you put people on that kind of pedestal and they are where we think we should be, sometimes you can think, oh, I need to take this one big giant leap. And I don't mean the people on the pedestal that are like here today and gone tomorrow, social media sensations and stuff like that. I mean the individuals who were devoted to worrying about getting closer to where they wanted to go, even when it was raining, when it was snowing, when the phone was off, when they needed a day off but couldn't have it. I'm talking about those people. So to understand those people and understand, where that drive comes from in terms of where how they got to where they are and what we see versus what they went through. We're gonna talk about the source. So let's get into the source, which is love. Right now I'm reading the book The Alchemist, and there's a reference in there called the personal legend. This guy meets the young boy and he talks to him. He tells him about the personal legend. So a personal legend is who you want to be and all the things you want to happen to you when you're young and you can picture it and you're not scared of the path of what it takes to get there because you don't know. You just know that that's where you want to be when you get older. And the book also quotes these mysterious forces that sometimes come about when we're trying to get to that path. So these forces can, be what we tend to see as negative a lot of time, and we get discouraged by these things sometimes, but they also become what you need to provide that strength and that grit and that determination that you need to get where you say you want to go. So you have to understand, whatever it is that you envisioned from the moment you pictured it when you were young is already under siege, because the world and people's ability to make you your own worst enemy. People can make you your own worst enemy in a lot of ways. And what I mean by that is people like to blame everything on divine intervention and divine timing. And it's interesting to me because at times I've done it as well when I shouldn't have. What I've realized is that we have a lot of power given to us on this earth to cultivate the things we want. And when you don't pay attention to what you eat and then you develop some type of ailment, that's not God. That's not divine intervention or timing. Um, when you shoot at somebody and they shoot back and they kill you, or they take off an arm and a leg, don't say it's God's way of waking you up. It's not. When you're broke and not even trying to devise a plan to hustle, don't give me the spiel about how some poor people are happier than rich people, because most of them aren't. Now, I'm not saying that God doesn't play a part in these things. God can take these things that we go through, all the things that I mentioned, and He can turn them into something by way of motivation or opportunities that we can't imagine through those circumstances. And that's just a testament to His grace and mercy that none of us really deserve. But too many times we're just justifying not doing things we want to do when you can do them at any time. It just comes with a price, that time, money, and energy that I've talked about in the previous podcast. So, you know, you'll become like this and not even know it until the time has passed. Because you were so erratic, or you never learned to take it one day at a time, $1 at a time, one page at a time. And I swear to you, it's less about the pace and comparing yourself to others than it is about the progress you make, because it adds up. Athletes, mathematicians, plumbers, cab drivers all go through the same things when we don't really sit down and focus and refine our way of doing the things we want to get the things we want. And then, when we do that, we'll always be giving some of our power away to cultivate the things that we want. And oftentimes, when we give that power away, people can use it against us, and they aim to, because it promotes what they want. So I ask myself, what happens to a cell phone when it loses power? It dies and it needs or uses other outlets to feel re-energized, right? The ability to re-energize oneself is already there. It's called sleep and food. And I bet you never really thought about this, like really thought. You probably thought about it, but you haven't really thought about it. When you're going through something, most times you created the situation, but you're going through it and you end up not being able to sleep, or with less of an appetite because of what you may be going through. So you have to look at yourself as like a person being a big cell phone. And what I mean by that is you're a big cell phone and you have a big battery. And it takes a while to charge a big battery so it can last a long time. The example would be 8 hours of sleep, 16 hours up. And in those 24 hours, we have to make sure we're not messing up our battery life as we go about our day. Leaving apps open in the background, and that's thinking about stuff that doesn't matter, or accidentally leaving the flashlight on. You're shedding light on things that may not be needed to shed light on, or that don't concern you. And probably the most important one is filtering your notifications, being sucked in by people and things that are taking power from you and making you think that you like losing that power. So you have to really filter yourself. You have to really try to understand, um, how to take these steps and how to preserve that power so that you can, have enough energy for the focus that it takes to be slow and methodical and do things the right way so that they will last. You don't want to, be moving too fast, and you build something and then you realize that you didn't put the base in right, and now it falls, and you just spent so much time working on the roof and the floor then fell out from under you. Now you have no foundation. So a lot of times that foundation is hard to lay down, and it's hard to kind of go through what it takes to be precise or methodical when it comes to those things. But it's and you have to realize that it's going to take some time. It's going to take a day at a time, and you're not going to be as good as you might want to be to start out. And if you are, then you still need to be working on those things that make it what it is. If you rise to stardom real fast as a singer, that doesn't mean you stop, going to vocal lessons and trying to better your craft. Because if you do that, somebody else can pop up in a day too. So it's all about understanding that slow and steady really does win the race because it allows you to focus, and then you make more progress over time than somebody who may have made it really fast. And like I said, it doesn't mean that you're going to take forever, because a year in the grand scheme of things is very little compared to, you know, 10, 15, 20 years of something. If I do something within this year that is slow and methodical and build something that lasts for 20, 30 years, and I didn't, or if you think about it vice versa, and I do something this year that's really fast and it has no foundation and only lasts 2 years, then that 1 year spent being methodical and steady about what I was doing is way better than that fast year, and then it only lasted 2 years. So you have to really look at the return on the time that you're putting into something, or the money or the energy that you're putting into something. So moving on to peace. And this is possibly the most famous quote from the book, The Alchemist. And it says, when you want something, all the universe conspires to helping you get it. And this is things people say at people's graduations, valedictorian speeches, all of that. Um, that means you can mess up. It means you can fail. You will fail. It will impede your speed and progress. You'll cry, you'll stand up, and you'll walk again. And if you really want what you're going after, it makes its way to meeting you when you're ready. So you have to really want it though, because that's what that's what will get you to the other side and make it worth something. So the piece of peace that I can give to you is really figuring out what you want, and then respectfully telling everybody to get the hell out your way. Um, because they'll take your power because they haven't found a way to deal with the truth. Last podcast, the truth, and regain theirs, because that type of truth hurts, especially when you realize that all you had to do was the little things to get, what you wanted. A lot of the little things every day to get to what you wanted. Even if those things significant, they add up. So my last little spill on that is just study ants. I mean, you not even to the point where you have to know everything about ants, but if you just look at ants, man, they build these huge mounds, and it's millions of them together. Huge mounds, huge ant hills, millions of them together, and they just are really, methodical about what they do. I'm gonna pick this rock up. I'm gonna take it back. I'm gonna pick this rock up. I'm gonna take it back, and it's millions of them doing it, and they create something that's way beyond what it seems like they should be able to create in a fast amount of time, because they're working together as well. So, find people that are being slow and deliberate in terms of, making sure they have the ideas and the goals that they want, and being methodical about getting to it, and not really distracted by everybody else and what they might think needs to be done to get there, but more so distracted by themselves and bettering themselves and what they want out of what they're doing. And that's how you get to the finish line a lot faster and a lot more efficiently, and you also have a lot more energy and time to enjoy the process of being better. You have a lot more time and energy to enjoy other things, because you're not trying to do something so fast and so big. You break it down into small sections, and you celebrate the little wins, man. You celebrate the little wins, and it's easier said than done. It's harder for um competitors, because you compare yourself to everybody because you want to compete and you want to win. But there's a time for that, and those other times you need to be better than you were against yourself yesterday. And that's where the massive improvements come from, beating yourself, because that gives you confidence. And when you have confidence, man, you start to do things you didn't think you could do, because now you're not afraid, or you're sure of yourself, or you're sure of your preparation in terms of what it is you want. So that's my spiel today. Slow and steady does win the race. Doesn't mean you have to go slow, but it still does win the race. So I appreciate everybody that tuned in. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. The podcast is on iTunes. Just type in Malik Mayweather. You should see Unconquered World, Unconquered UC podcast, or just podcast. I've been trying to play with it and really make sure I know how all of that works. And it's all love on this side, man. So questions, reactions, anything you need, and I'll do my best to reply. And if anybody wants to be on the podcast, like I said, I have found a way to I have a tablet now, Verizon, some type of tablet, and I can use Messenger to FaceTime or call people in on the podcast now. So I want to start getting that going sometime next month, the next podcast, or maybe the one after that. Try to get some people who may be interested in sharing some positivity, a story, advertising their brands or whatever they might have going on. Shout out to that boy Funny because he said help him out Mondays. So that inspired me to try to figure out how I can help people. I've always been trying to help people. That's the reason I started this, but that's one way I can now. Bringing people on the show, even if it's for 5 minutes, to talk about their product, talk about, their stories, maybe help somebody. And you might save a life, man. Like I said that when I first started this, and I still really mean that. This stuff might save someone's life. You might help somebody that you didn't know you were helping. And that could have a tremendous effect, and you never know it. And you have to be okay with that. And I'm okay with it. So everybody, it's all love. I'm out.